you find out that your 3-year-old son, Mason, has a brain tumor.
These kinds of tumors, we just don't know. It's 50-50. He had like 300 seizures. We're going, what the hell is that? He's like freaking out. And well, there's nothing going on in the brain, nothing going on in the heart. These are psychological. Holy shit. Wow. And so one day, my wife Yvette says, you don't want to have these anymore? How about you give them to me? And that's exactly what they did.
I want to get back to the story because we're talking about resilience, and here's your best man at your wedding who basically betrayed you. And we have family members that betray us. I've had partners that have also, I've had that falling out. But how do you come back from, deep personal betrayal and keep it from poisoning you? And did you ever forgive him?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. So that was really hard for me because we were such close friends. Yeah. We're both Canadians living in California. We met our wives to be 2 days apart. Our wives were great friends, and we would go out to dinner every Friday night together. And so it was not only the business that was hurt, it was the social circle that was hurt too. And it wasn't just mine, it was our little unit together, my wife and mine, and his wife and his. So we didn't speak for quite some time. And then one day I ran into him at a restaurant. And it was really strange. Now we're face to face at a restaurant, hadn't seen each other in a long time. And this might have been 9 years later.
Right.
And my son had a brain tumor. And he said, how's your son? And man, I appreciated that he pushed past all our angst, all our fight. The cover of the Wall Street Journal covered it. It was just a battle. And so that was it. That came and went. And I was speaking to YPO in Shanghai. And this was in 2019. So many years after it happened. And I was staying at the Four Seasons. I went to the gym with my wife. Imagine all the hotels in the world, all the hotels in Shanghai. There's one guy in the gym, and it's him. And
universe, I think it was the elephant Ganesh is testing you.
It was unbelievable. And I see him on a machine as we walk into the gym, and his head goes down and he goes, shit. And so we talked for a couple of minutes. We took a photo, and that night I had my speaking gig, and I always tell the story. And people always ask, well, have you seen him again? Well, that's a great question. Yes, today, here. So yeah, it was, and I put up the photo. So anyway, it was, but that, by the way, the end of the story is, it was about 18 months ago. He was indicted, and sentenced, and, it finally caught up with him. He had some bouts with, pushing the limit. And he ended up getting 5 years in prison for fraud.
Karma's a bitch. But I want to go back to something you just mentioned. I don't want to let it go by because I have grandchildren now, and I have a granddaughter, Dahlia, that was born 2 months ago. And just thinking, oh my gosh, if something happens, the worst thing in the world that could possibly happen is to a child. And here you get informed, I don't know, by Yvette, or you find out that your 3-year-old son, Mason, has a brain tumor. Like, walk us through, like, what happened? What did you do? How did you handle that? And what did you learn from it?
Well, there's a lot of questions in there. So he had been having headaches and throwing up. My wife had been taking him to different doctors. They thought first maybe he needs glasses, maybe he's got the flu, maybe he's got migraines. And my wife's father is an optometrist and examined his eyes and couldn't see the optic nerve because something was blocking it. So then I took him in for an MRI, and here's the pitch. Hey, we're going to go in and have this little test. As soon as we're done, we're going to get a burger, and then we'll take you back to school. And so that was the plan. So I take him down there, and then he has his test. He comes out, and then we wait, and we wait, and we wait. All of a sudden, they're paging the doctor over and over again. So, man, that's just weird. All of a sudden, we're in an ambulance on the way to the children's hospital, and we learned he had a brain tumor, and we didn't know what that meant. They told me not to call my wife and call my wife, but not tell her what the diagnosis was. Just have her come meet you at the hospital, tell them they want to run more tests. She has a meltdown. She meets me down there. And then when we finally meet the surgeon about 12 hours later, he said, and these kinds of tumors, we just don't know. It's 50-50. And because you know me, I'm direct. Shoot me straight, doc. I can deal with good news and bad news. It's no news I can't deal with. I need to know what the story is here. And he said, we won't know till we get in there. So the next day, he said, I'd rather go home and get some rest. It's 11 p.m. right now. And how about we do it in the morning? So we did. And fortunately, it was an encapsulated tumor, and they pulled it out. And despite him not being able to walk, move his arms and legs for months, one day he just started walking again. And after I'll say the first surgery, he had complications. And they put these, at the time, they used to put these tubes into his brain to measure the pressure. And eventually, the pressure's supposed to go down, but his wasn't going down. So he had what's called hydrocephalus, water on the brain. So we had to do another surgery. There's two ways to solve that. Either a shunt, which is the tube that goes in the brain, drains in the stomach. Bad news with that, it needs to be changed frequently. Which means another surgery to go in and change it. Or you could do what's called third ventriculostomy. Only about 30% of the people are eligible and only works about 30% of the time. The good news, he was eligible and it worked. Yet there was more risk associated with it.
So how do you deal, Mark, with your son, your wife? You have an operating business. How did you juggle all these emotions to keep everything moving in yourself, in a good state of mind? Because if you're freaking out, then everyone else is going to be freaking out too.
Yeah, I'm not a freak out guy. I'm a to-do list guy. What do we need to do? Who do we need to talk to? Rank them in order and start. So for me, that part, I'm on a mission. I need to determine the best course of action, what the options are, assessing the doctors, validating their experiences. When this third ventriculostomy took place, now because they said there's a risk of death from this second surgery, but if it works, it'll be amazing. Now I got more things to research and more people to talk to. So I went down this path. So for me, I'm very task-oriented, mission-oriented. I need to get that done. In my wife's case, she's very emotional. So her parents and my parents and friends, a lot more emotion in that. And me, I'm working my to-do list. So if you're not helping me with my to-do list, I'm not engaging with you. I'm working on my to-do list. So that's on the personal side. Yes, and this business is still going, and the business isn't taking time off for a health issue. That's your issue. And so fortunately, I had good people in place that ran the business during this period of time. And what I learned was there was more to life than being a workaholic, especially early 30s. super passionate about making stuff happen, making big happen, and very driven, building the future. But it gave me perspective on what was really important. And here at the time, I had a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old with a brain tumor that couldn't walk, and wondering how he was going to recover. 5 years in rehab, MRIs every quarter at first, always a meltdown going through that process. And then you think when he finally got pronounced cured 5 years later, then he one night he was out and he had like 300 seizures. And we're going, what the hell is that? Where's that coming from? What's this all about? And he was having these, they're called psychogenic seizures. So there's no brain activity or heart activity when they happen. They're all created in the mind. And how this got solved, like, we couldn't leave him alone, right? Couldn't go in a swimming pool. He couldn't go anywhere by himself. He would have been 8 years old at the time. So that's a journey too. And so one day, this is how this got cured. He's seeing all these docs and therapists, and there are monitors all over him, and they're watching him in the middle of a seizure. We've gone through, and they're saying, there's nothing going on. What do you mean nothing's going on? I'm watching it live here. There's a lot going on. He's like freaking out. And well, there's nothing going on in the brain, nothing going on in the heart. These are psychological. Holy shit. Wow. And so one day, my wife Yvette says, you don't want to have these anymore? How about you give them to me and we'll throw them away in the garbage? So that's exactly what they did. He motioned to take them out of his stomach, handed them to Yvette, and he threw them in the trash can. Never had one again.
Wow, that is incredible. Now, I want to jump forward to something that I also think is crazy, but I'm sure it had a whole purpose. But I remember, I think in one of your books, that you take Mason to basically run a marathon on ice in like the Antarctica or something. Am I remembering that correctly?
It's interesting. Yes, you are remembering it correctly. When he was 12, a really good friend of mine, a YPO forum mate, went through something similar. He had throat cancer. He also got a 50-50 diagnosis. During that time, I said, when he's going through radiation, I said, hey, you know what? I'm going to sign you and everybody in the forum up for a half marathon. Goes, dude, I may not be here. Oh, that's bullshit. You're going to be here. We're all going to do this thing together. And he wasn't a runner, and it was, my belief was I get him focused on something in the future that we were all going to do together. And Mason said at 12, I want to do it too. And 12 years old, run a half marathon, that's crazy. So Mason ran the whole race with my buddy, crossed finish line together. And then he said, Dad, I'd like to do a marathon. I said, well, you pick one anywhere you want. We'll go do it together. He picked Antarctica. And well, man, Antarctica, firstly, it's super hilly. It's going to be cold. There's going to be snow on the ground.
Picked it. He picked it.
He picked it.
Holy
dude,
cow.
What's wrong with you? You must have brain issues. And so we did that. And so he completed it. And like, it was not the greatest of accommodations. Like, we're staying in a tent, sleeping on the gravel.
How old is he at the time?
He was 14, and which is insane. And so the next year I was heading to do the North Pole Marathon. I asked him if he wanted to come with me, and he declined. He has never run a marathon since.
Wow. But you are an endurance athlete, and you've competed in iron marathons and all this. Tell us about that journey, it started, what you've competed in, and I know you've won some big accolades, but tell us about why you did that, what it gave you, what you learned from it.
I'm even drinking out of my Hawaii Ironman World Championship mug today.
Awesome.
Yes. So when Mason had went through his issues and stuff, I was just getting into little tiny sprint triathlons. And then it became a bit addictive. That started with the small ones, then went to Olympic distance. That was still tolerable. It was, rather than it being an hour and 15 or hour 20, it now became a 3-hour experience. And then I signed up for a half Ironman. Well, that's bigger shoes now.
And explain what an Ironman is. I don't think everybody knows the different things you have to do.
Yeah. So an Ironman distance is you swim 2.4 miles. If you're out in Hawaii, for example, you're open ocean, you're swimming 2.4 miles. When you look how freaking far that is, and then you can barely see the turnaround and come back, it's intimidating.
And you got sharks following you.
Well, yeah, you can. It's so clear you can see all the sea life below you. And then here's what I learned: just don't be the slowest. And if a shark's going to get you, it's not going to be you. Then you ride your bike 112 miles. Just think about that for a moment. But you say today you got a meeting today, and it's 112 miles away, and you're taking your car. That's a pretty good distance. And but you're doing this by bike, and then when you get done with that, you run a full marathon, full 26.2 miles, and you do it all in the same day. And I've done 12 of those, and I've done the World Championship in Hawaii 5 times.
And how old were you when you completed the first one?
I would have been 41.
Wow! So you started in your 40s, and the last one that you completed, how old were you?
48. And in that period of time, that's a lot of them. It's like 2 a year, which is, looking back on that, that's a little obsessive.
You and I have, if you go to our website, R360 Global, you can take an archetype assessment. Mark and I are both Olympians. So we love to scale mountains and achieve things and keep going. So you have that. But I imagine it gave you lots of energy. Maybe when you're running, you're getting ideas. But how did it affect you as a CEO of building a company?
It's a good question. Training for a race, a half Ironman distance is a lot. An Ironman distance is no joke. The discipline and commitment that it takes to train 20 hours a week, that doesn't count the time getting to and from workouts, doesn't count shower time, and doesn't count stretching time, and work full time, and have a family. And then, hey, look, by 8 o'clock at night, you're tired. And pretty soon, 4:45's coming along, and it's time to get the party started again. So I was already very disciplined, but it taught me how to be even more disciplined. Also, as it relates to being a CEO, right, it was about setting goals and then achieving the goals. And I know at some point we might lead into this, but I went out and hired a world-class coach, the guy that coached former Hawaii Ironman winners as pros. And I hired that guy to coach me. I was a rookie. I decided to go get the best, teach me the best, and I'm going to have all kinds of obstacles, I'm sure. Just walk me through it all. And it was great having somebody to talk to. Over the years, I had him for most of the time. He was wonderful. His name's Rock Fry, also Canadian. And then I moved over to a guy that many people know, Ben Greenfield, was my coach last year. And it was a different style of training. It was a little bit more intense, but we went from 20 hours a week down to 12. And so I appreciated having more time. And so that was good for me. I had enough base in me. So
I agree 100% with you because you and I are built the same.